I love motorcycling. Since I started riding 2 years ago, I'm not sure I've found another hobby that's given me as much freedom and self confidence and as many friends and experiences. But it's obviously a riskier hobby than most, and unfortunately, I experienced this firsthand earlier this year when I broke my fingertip sliding on some mud. As broken bones go, it was a fairly minor injury, and it took about 2 to 3 months to fully heal. I had a wire in the finger for about 10 weeks, and then maybe a month or so of physio after that. But what took longer to heal was me. Until I physically recovered, I couldn't do the thing which I enjoyed the most, which was getting out on the bike. But even once I'd physically recovered, mental recovery took a lot longer. The first few times I went out, I was pretty terrified, and it took a long time just to remember how to ride, and I felt like I'd just passed my CBT again. I didn't really realise what riding meant to me until I got back on the bike, and I realised what I was missing. It's not just a fun hobby, it's not just a mode of transport, but I couldn't go see my friends, I couldn't go do what I enjoy doing, I couldn't go clear my head when I was stressed because I couldn't ride. Having a hand injury was very hard to deal with because you use your hands for literally everything. Having to ask people to cut my food up for me because I couldn't do it myself was a very humbling experience, to say the least. I remember feeling much more empathy towards people who have accidents or close calls and decide that riding isn't for them. I couldn't really relate before, nor could I understand how someone could want to walk away from all the fun and freedom that motorcycling offers. But I get it now. I'm lucky to be fully healed up with no complications other than a slightly crooked fingertip, but many others aren't so lucky. I had to spend a lot of time coming to terms with the fact that it's not all fun and games, and when things go wrong on a bike, they can really go wrong. I try to spend as much time as possible training, practicing, and getting better, because I'm not okay with dying, I'm not okay with hurting myself, and I'm definitely not okay with hurting somebody else. I know myself, I know that I can get caught up in the excitement of a group ride and start taking risks and thinking it's only this one time or nothing is going to go wrong, but then I remind myself that nobody plans on crashing and my life is not worth taking gambles with just for the sake of showing off or having some fun. While I was recovering, I spent a lot of time wondering if motorcycling really was for me, and that if I wasn't okay with getting hurt or maybe losing my life, then maybe I should take up a different hobby. But I don't think that it's an inevitability that you're going to crash and get hurt if you decide to ride. My accident was 100% avoidable, and it wouldn't happen again today. It was my fault, and it was within my control. Almost every rider I know has had some kind of mishap, and almost all of them will tell you with a slightly sheepish smile that they were doing something they shouldn't be, or they weren't 100% switched on. We're humans, we make mistakes and we get it wrong. It's not enough to scare me away from bikes, but it was enough to wake me up and remind me that your body and your life is dependent on you being the best rider that you can be. I don't blame people from deciding to walk away from biking. I wouldn't try to talk a friend into riding if they were thinking of giving it up after an accident, but it's a wake-up call for those of us who decide to stay. Getting back on the bike as soon as possible was massively helpful for me, and this is a bit sad, but since we're all friends, I'll tell you that when I was still healing, I used to go outside and sit on my bike and play with the levers and the controls until I felt that my hand was strong enough to go ride again. If your plan is to get back on the bike eventually, don't let the fear and anxiety fester. Take baby steps, even if it's just riding your bike around the block or up and down your road until you feel confident again. But take your time if you need it too, and don't feel like you have anything to prove by jumping back on straight away or at all. Motorcycling should be enjoyable. Fear and stress are not enjoyable, but I'm not sure there's been anything more enjoyable for me than proving to myself and to other people that I can handle adversity, that I know where my shortcomings are, and I'm going to get better so that this doesn't happen again. I struggled a lot to talk about my anxiety about getting back on the bike. I was worried that people would think that I was making a big deal out of nothing, or that my injury wasn't severe enough to cause me any kind of mental distress. But it did, and I don't think we talk often enough about the longer lasting effects of a motorcycle accident or a close call. Hopefully this helps somebody who is going through a similar experience. It's okay to feel fear, and it does get better eventually. Sooner than you think, you'll be back out riding and enjoying yourself like you used to. Or if you decide that it's too much of a risk for you and you don't want to ride anymore, that's okay too. Some of us just need a break, and maybe in the future when you decide that you're feeling more confident or you're interested in bikes again, you can jump back on, but there's no need to rush it. Take your time, take it easy, and safe riding, and I'll see you guys in the next one.